Okay, good morning, everybody. Everybody who can hear me and see me. Hi.
Can't miss you.
Can't miss me. Thank you. Yeah, you used to work here. You can see the rain outside has kind of kept everyone away today, which is surprising. Just a little bit of rain in Las Vegas, but it's very nice. We enjoyed the LVR golf tournament yesterday. It was a perfect 78 degrees, and don't ask me how the play went because we didn't even win the worst award. We couldn't even do that. But it was a good time. They raised about $2,500 for just one project along with some other stuff that they did. So very cool for that. Join us next year as we do it. Real quick, Sherrie KK, do you want to tell us about your events coming up? Don't forget we have the raffle here for the booze, and we have 3 wonderful choices today. Jaeger, I wouldn't buy a ticket for that. That's dangerous.
You know what? We don't touch this in my house, and I have more of this. I might bring it. Next week will be our last week.
Better than cough syrup, they say.
Better than cough syrup?
Yep.
Okay, I'll remember that.
Is that what they say?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, because the 19th out there, TV land, is our meeting at the West office. Correct, Condo?
Yes.
Okay, October 19th. It's also the bake sale. TATA, well, no, it's not the TATA Alliance. This is just Signature Agents putting together the bake sale. We're still looking for bakers, and of course, I know you guys will come and buy lovely pastries and all that. And so we were going to have a scavenger hunt, if you recall. Well, nobody signed up for it. So we decided as TATA Alliance gals to put together another fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. And we're doing a brunch.
Nice.
And California Pizza Kitchen is hosting a little room on October 9th from 11 to 1. Please call me or Kate on this little flyer for reservations. The room only seats 20. So we're not gonna, do it quickly because it will fill up. We're about almost to halfway right now, and we just started advertising this a few days ago. There will be raffles, lots of prizes, beautiful brunch put on by California Pizza Kitchen. And today we are raffling off these beautiful bottles of booze. And just see me or Boya in the back. Thanks.
Very cool. Thank you, Sherrie.
Thank you, Sherrie.
Thank you, Sherrie. All right, so a couple of things. We're going to do wants and needs real quick, and I have a big want, not my property up there in Dyer that you all have asked about. I've got a property in Pahrump that I just listed at 17 acres. So if you have a developer or someone that wants to grow something, I don't care what they grow, it comes along with 13 acres of water rights, which is really hard to get in Pahrump. And it has a 3,000 square foot house on the property that's in fantastic condition for 1.15. And if you look at the land about by itself should be around 750, and then you put on a 3,000 square foot house, and you're right there. Question on that?
Can you grow cannabis there?
Yes, you can. I believe so. You have to get a permit for it, a special permit. It's a high price permit, but you can do it. And there was a company that had already been approved for it. But because of COVID, they had to leave town.
How much is it?
1.15.
The whole thing?
The whole thing, you get the whole shebang. And it actually has multiple access roads so that if you did develop it, you'd have multiple points of entry to make that happen. Just call us up, we'll get you into it. There's a tenant in the property renting it right now, so they'd love to see it. Just come on out to Pahrump and join them. I also have one that Tyson was going to talk about in Club Aliante. It just went on. 570, 2196 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's the only one in the club that's hardly ever been lived in. All of the other ones have really been lived in, if you know what I mean. So come take a look at that, 570, have a great time. Anyone else have some wants and needs? Honey?
So I have a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo coming up in Vistonia right here during 215. It does have a 1-car garage also. And it'll be listed at 215. The seller is looking at possibly doing a 1031 exchange, so we're just waiting for him to speak with his tax advisor before we put it on the market. So,
What floor?
you guys, it's the first floor, but I think it has stairs that go up through the garage there. So, here.
Right.
So I have 2 listings coming up. One is a duplex on the east side, has a garage.
Nice.
And it has it has a tenant already in there, so you can use it as a primary, or you can rent out the other unit, and that's going to be at $389. It's actually a really good income producing property, and it already has 1,500 square feet of garage. And then in addition to that, we have one coming on the market. It's a single story in Southern Highlands, 2 bedrooms inside with a casita, and that one is going on the market for $467.
Very nice. Duplexes qualify for FHA, right?
Yes, sir.
Live in one side, rent out the other, gotta love that. Anyone else wants and needs? Okay, next up, Tony with Prosperity. Tony, it's all yours. Give it up for Tony.
Thank you. I'll just take the booze and I'm good with
Yeah.
it. We're good. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the loan approval process, and hopefully there's some value in, we all learn something from this. You're probably not aware but all files that are submitted for approval, whether they be purchases or refinances, are actually subject to 2 separate approvals before we can close on the loan. Cannot close without receiving the 2 approvals. The first approval is by what's called an AUS. That would be an automated underwrite system, completed by the loan officer or an LOA, an assistant to the loan officer, before the file will be accepted into the lender's system. It's an additional step that you're probably not aware of, and it does not satisfy the loan contingency date requirement as specified in the purchase agreement. Only the underwritten approval satisfies the contingency. But here's what I really want to get at. Receiving AUS approval does not represent the final approval. That will only come after the underwriter reviews documentation and issues the final underwritten approval. Okay? So you say, okay, why would the possibility exist that any file would receive an automated approval but not receive an approval by an underwriter? Well, as you can imagine, there's several reasons, any number of reasons. Additional credit taken out, which might impact the borrower's FICO score. What else we got? Late payments. Late payments not reflected in the AUS approval, but coming to light after the underwriter receives the file. Discrepancy between the qualifying income the loan officer or what's shown on the application and what the underwriter credits the borrower with. Okay? There's also additional tests run by an underwriter checking for the eligibility of the borrower and the property to be able to acquire the property, and any additional borrowers, including a non-occupying co-borrower, and eligibility for down payment funds. So any number of reasons. I won't go through them all, but I'll be more than happy to give this to you. Available funds, borrowers, gift funds. Gift funds are always sourced where they came from. The gift funds cannot be borrowed. Judgments, liens, child support, garnishments, obviously they're going to have an impact, and they will impact a final approval. Okay? Property type, the information contained in MLS is not always entirely accurate. I'm sure we've all experienced that. Okay? Especially it seems for manufactured homes, single or double wide, condo townhomes, whether or not the property is part of a planned unit development. Bless you. Condos. Everyone's got a horror story when it comes to condos. I know I have several. But when the AUS is run, and bear in mind it's run when the file is accepted into the lender's system, we don't have condo cert at that point. So we still don't know whether or not that particular unit and that particular development is eligible for financing. Okay? Only when the condo cert is received will we know for definite. And then finally, what I would say is the borrower's income. I had one earlier this year, believe it or not. The guy was so keen to refinance and get money out of his property that he quit his job the day before we were due to fund. The day before. As you can imagine, that caused a few concerns, let's put it that way. And it didn't fund. We cannot. Because he went into a different line of work, which didn't help. So, just to summarize, the AUS is based on the information we put into the system to let us know if it meets investor requirements. That's probably the best way to put it. Without that approval, we can't go to underwriting. AUS is basically telling us yes or no that it meets guidelines. That's what it boils down to. The underwriter is checking to make sure the information we provided is true and accurate based on the documents we provided to prove the information is true. Okay? So if you do find that a file is admitted into the system, but we don't get final approval, probably due to one of the reasons that I mentioned. Okay? Does that make sense? A little bit.
So how far out can the final underwriting approval be done? before closing?
Before closing, good question. Typically we're talking a week to 10 days. Sometimes that period could be shorter, but bear in mind, the CD cannot go out until all of the conditions are satisfied. And once the underwritten approval is received, that will go back to the processor. She will contact the borrower and go over any outstanding conditions, and there are always conditions. So my best guess would be a week to 10 days.
So if you have a 21-day loan contingency and you got a 45-day closing, there's no guarantee.
Well, but the low contingency would apply to when, the underwriter would have to approve the file before the contingency expires.
But can they? Because
Oh, they can, yeah, it can happen, yeah. But obviously there's a couple of steps that need to take place before that. Order an appraisal, get the file in front of an underwriter, condo cert, if it's a condo, those kind of things, yeah. There's several tests
It
that,
can be further, but it's going to be at least.
correct, yeah. So, anybody else?
Yeah, I know. Who orders the condos?
Good question. In my case, I have an assistant who's very good, I have to say. She's wonderful. She will order it. Borrower will pay it up front, which of course can cause problems because if the file doesn't go through, now the borrower's out funds and they don't take too kindly to that. But it's just part of the process. And by the way, if the file doesn't go through and the borrower has not paid for the condo cert, guess what? Tony's paying for it, or at least the branch pays for it. Okay? Anything else? Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony.
Have a good day, everybody.
Get up for Tony.
All right, Tony.
I actually just had a personal deal close. I was the seller, and the buyer went out and didn't tell his agent, but the day or two before closing went out and bought some flooring to redo the flooring in the house. And so it was like $15,000 that he prepaid for flooring on a line of credit that he opened, and that was a fun experience, right? And I just shook my head, and the agent's like, I just can't believe he would do that. I told him 3 times not to go out and get it, but he just figured since he'd already signed his loan docs, that was okay. And of course, they check right before closing. Anyway, so today we have a special meeting because 1 year ago, at the very end of September, beginning of October, Brandon and I did on Zoom a meeting where we talked about our top 10 takeaways from 2020. And so what do you do a year later? Your top 10 takeaways from 2021. So welcome up Brandon, our owner and the man of the hour, the president-elect for LVR. And so Brandon and I are going to go over our takeaways in no specific order, but we'll start with Brandon.
So I don't remember it being takeaways. I think it was top 10 things
Sure.
to plan for the next year.
Whatever
But
you feel like.
so, so I'm going to do one list. He's going to do another. No, they'll probably be a lot the same. But I think the biggest takeaway or the biggest thing for getting ready for next year is the fact that it's a good time to analyze your business. Analyze where you got your business from, where you are today. The income you've made, the percentage of commissions that you're making on average, your average sales price, and all that type of stuff. Because that's all going to be imperative as you go forward to set your next plan for next year.
I like it. My number one is similar. By the way, it isn't like number one being the best to 10. They're all the best. But number one was create a plan, get a coach, create accountability in your business. And of course, the reason is a plan only works when you do. And a lot of real estate agents who get into the business actually get into the business with no idea what they're going to do. And we've all talked about the numbers from LVR where 50% don't make it the first year, 80% don't make it 3 years, and it's usually because they never had someone help them create a business plan. And I think that that's one of the things that I love about our programs here is we do have great coaches that will help you do it. We do end the year with some business planning clinics, and so Todd actually has a class, I believe, this week. 13th on creating a very simple business plan. I think of a saying that was given to me when it comes to these plans, and forgive the phrasing, but this wasn't mine. The bastards tried to bury me, but they didn't know I was a seed. Right?
No, I was a what?
Seed. Like you plant a seed and something grows. So plant your business plan and watch it grow.
So I also had that on my list, so this list might get real short. But I just put it down as share your
You
goals.
promised 20 things, make sure you deliver 20 things.
Well, good thing I got 11, so we're going to be a little bit better. Share your goals, accountability, like he said, having a plan, and the accountability, getting a coach. But if you share your goals and you put it out there, you're more likely to achieve them as well, instead of just keeping it kind of a secret. We do offer coaching here at Signature. We coach, Todd coaches, Janet coaches, Vonna coaches. Got some great coaches here. But whether you coach with us or you coach somewhere else, I highly recommend a coach. I know I've been coached all my life, and I know Chris has had coaches as well. So that might be something you really want to look into for this coming year, is how can I create more accountability or more pressure to make sure that I achieve those goals.
Absolutely. All right. Okay, so my number 2, who here has ever been on a listing appointment, or you scheduled a listing appointment and something came up and you had to reschedule it? Okay? No? You've never done that? Okay, so
Never had a
2, 3 people tell the truth. Okay, there's another hand in the back. So what's funny about that is, you know, we all are subject to the things that happen in our life, our personal lives, our business life. And so I read one time in a real estate coaching book that 80% of success is showing up. And I was like, well, that's kind of stupid. Of course, you know, you're going to show up. This is your business. But really, when you think about it, there are a lot of things we don't show up for. Many didn't show up for the sales meeting. Not because they didn't want to or didn't care or didn't find value. It's just because something happened or they couldn't get it together. Classes, when you went to school, you know, in school, you would try not to go to school. That was my whole thing. Or try not to do your homework or whatever. But I think that's the whole point, is that if I show up 80% of the time, my plan will be successful. And I think the other piece of that is that if I show up, I'm treating my business like a business, which is important because no one's doing this for free. And I think that if you show up, you're also taking part in everything. And so I think of Ellie when I think of this, where he attends events that aren't part of his regular business because he wants to create better business. And Sherri, you're taking part in the TATA Alliance so that you can better a cause that you feel powerful about. And I think that all of that is the reason why it's so important that we are showing up. And that's the biggest life lesson I think I have in real estate, is be present for what you hope to achieve.
We saw this through COVID. We saw many agents have the best year and a half so far of their careers. And then we've seen others that just disappeared. And one of the big differences was that people that had big producing years in production and kept things going, where they continued to work. Even if you were working from home, they got up every day and they went to work. And it's easy to just, you know, go to the other room, not shower, not get ready, whatever, the day goes by. I attribute a lot of my success to real estate is I went to work every day. I used to work in a restaurant, and I had to be there at 4:30 in the morning and open the doors and, you know, be there through close and everything else. So I got some structure and some discipline. So when I got into real estate, I just thought I had to go to work. So I went to the office every day, and by being in the office, what happened was I got to listen to other people on the phone. I got to be around energy and people doing business, and I got to learn. And then I got opportunities from other agents to actually help them in their business or different things like that that helped me learn and get things going. But like Chris said, if you don't show up and you don't put yourself out there, it's not going to come find you.
I think the other piece of that, and I wrote it down on 3 points later, but a lot of people that entered this business from a job that they either were burnt out from, or they didn't like, or they worked too long of hours, and you were upset at the fact that, you know, you really weren't getting the rewards that were justified for the time and energy you put in. And then they get into real estate, instead of working 50-hour weeks or 60-hour weeks, they work 10-hour weeks or 12-hour weeks, or take that extra, you know, siesta or that nap, or stay in the morning instead of getting up. If they work this job just like that job, we see a lot of those people are $1 million producers. They always, why is this person making $1 million and this person's only making $100,000? Because they're working 60 hours a week. You know, and even though they may not have a surplus of clients when they get into it, they're prospecting 60 hours a week. I think that's the bigger piece.
So that would lead me into my next one, which is finish the fourth quarter strong. Finish the year strong. Keep showing up. Now's the fourth quarter is a great time that people like to take off because of the holidays. You got Thanksgiving coming, you got Christmas, and nobody buys a home during the holidays, which is false. Serious people are out there looking during the holidays, so you got less tire kickers, and you've got less agents, which means you have less competition. And I've always believed the fourth quarter is the most the most important quarter of the year for two reasons. Number one, it helps you finish the year strong to help you achieve your goals. But number two, it sets you up for the first quarter of next year. Because we all know what we do today is what we get paid for down the road, right? 30, 60, 90 days from now. If you work and you fill that pipeline through the holidays, that's going to give you the opportunity to have a great spring. And then what happens after that, you can springboard right into a good year. So don't give up on your fourth quarter.
I know a statistic in the marketplace that says that if you list your home during the holiday, meaning the end of November through December, you're 30% more likely to sell it at a better price because your home is in usually great condition at the holidays, right? Because your in-laws are coming, your family and kids are coming, and you've decorated it, and it looks inviting and warm, and it smells like cookies. And so all of those people that are out, like you said, they're extremely serious, and your home is presented in the best light possible because you're actually there putting it in that condition for all of your family. And so I think that that's the whole point, that, you know, most of us don't want to work Thanksgiving, right? But I'd be way more thankful come New Year's if I had a deal or two in escrow that would make the whole holidays jolly for me.
Right.
I used the word jolly.
Your turn.
Okay, jolly good time. So number 3, no matter how good or bad the market is, it was proven again in 2021 like it was in every year before. Here in Southern Nevada, we sell 30 to 40,000 homes. So market up, hottest market we've seen in the last 30 years, we still sold around 40,000 homes. And the whole point is that no matter what happens, people sit and fixate on the problems rather than solutions. Oh my God, I can't get any listings. Why not? There are people out there in the marketplace that still got their share of the listings, but was it you? And why did they get a market share and you didn't? How innovative were they with their business in creating the opportunity? How much did they prospect? Did they go out and actually door knock the neighborhoods like I know many of you did to create the momentum to get the properties? So the point is that in this year, make it your year that you create the market share, right? Because no matter what happens, no matter if the market goes up or down, someone's going to be listing those homes, and is it you or not? And I think about everyone who talked about in 2020 how horrible things were, how hard it was to do business. And so this quote came up that I think is fantastic. If your path demands that you walk through hell, walk as if you own the place, right? And that's what many agents did during 2020, is they treated it like they owned the place. They became masters of the pandemic, and they created a business worth having. And so I think the whole point is in this part, no matter what happens next year, we're still gonna be selling houses.
My dad got me into the restaurant business years ago, and one of the reasons he says you'll always have a job because people have to eat, right? Somebody's always got to eat every single day. Well, in housing, in real estate, there are people always going to be buying and selling real estate, right? So what changes? What changed during the REO boom? We still sold 40,000+ homes a year. What changed? The price of the home, right? Which changed what? Your commission. So you had to work a little harder to make the same kind of money, and that's why a lot of agents got into the problem is because they overspend because they think things are always going to be that way. So you have to work a little harder to make the same kind of money, but truly what happens is people still buy and sell. And what also happens is the real estate community shrinks, right? If you have to work harder, what happens? More people get out of the business. When it gets easier and the commissions are higher, like you guys have all had a tremendous raise over the past few years. You guys realize that, right? Every one of you, when you sell a house, you make more now than you did 5 years ago, selling the same house. And so being out there and getting your fair share, you don't even have to get the same fair share to make more money. It's really just on how you look at it, and goes back to showing up. The homes are there, the people are there, the sales are going to happen with or without you. Your job is to get in the middle of them. And so how are you going to get in the middle of them? That's the question, is you got to show up, you got to do some activities, real estate generating activities, to put yourself in the middle of them. Just get in the middle of as many transactions as you can.
So one of the other things I noticed in 2021 is a lot of people took the mindset that now the sellers have control of the market, I've got to reduce my fee to get this listing, right? I've got to do it for less so I can get it, which is ironic because 10 years ago, the conversation was, you know, buyers, there's a surplus of buyers, sellers are taking a loss, I got to reduce my fee to get a listing, right? So it didn't matter whether the market was up or down, people had the same mindset, which was horrible And what I've actually seen happen is good producing agents that have a good understanding of their business are making more commission dollars now than the average in the marketplace. I have many people in my coaching that are getting 3.3% on average because they're charging higher for a more service, right? Because is it just easy now to deal with offers that come in on a property? I mean, you don't get just one. If it was just one, it'd be a different story. You get multiple. And you get every brand new agent that's never shown a home that calls you as soon as you put it on the market asking you questions on a listing you just put in, right? And then you get the follow-up, and then you get the client that wants to know if you're going to put it in that magazine that no longer exists, right? All of those things are going on, and your time and energy, is that really your job to sell the house or to make sure it closes? All of it, right? But people only fixate on the beginning instead of the end.
All right, which would bring me to prospect. We've got to do something every single day to get a piece of business. You realize if you wake up every morning and just view it as you're unemployed and you've got to go out and get a piece of business today, and you treat it that way consistently over time, you're going to get what?
Business.
You're going to get business. There's no way you can't if you do the real estate activities. So what are some of the activities? Note cards? Calls? Cold calls? What'd you say, Christina? Open houses. I'm seeing, like I coach Wayne. Wayne's killing it in the open houses right now. I know members of Chris's team, they're killing it because they're out there in the community, and who's out there looking in open houses?
Buyers.
And sellers. I mean, people interested in real estate are. What else could you do? Because when we hear this ugly word prospect, what do you initially think of?
Pain.
Cold calls, right? You can cold call and you can get business. You can call FSBOs and you can get business. You can door knock, you can get business. But what other types of prospecting can you do? I mean, Ellie's a networker. He goes out and builds relationships with people, and he enjoys it. It's something that he enjoys and he's passionate about. Makes it what? Easier to talk to people, right? I would rather pick up the phone and call somebody than go network. But that's me. So what is it that would put you in front of the most people possible to have real estate conversations? And that's what you got to look at. And there's two types of prospecting. There's passive and aggressive. And the passive is where most of us hide. Most of us hide behind passive prospecting, which would be like mailers, hoping people call us, sending out emails. That's all passive because you have no control whether somebody's going to call you or not. So aggressive prospecting is where we go to them. If you had to take a listing today, where would you go? Like, you have to.
My
Your
own
life.
house.
Yeah. Let's say you don't own one. No, but seriously, yeah, you could list your own house. But if I had to take a listing today, could you take a listing today? Every one of you could take a listing today. Where would you go?
Center of influence.
You call your sphere?
Sphere of influence.
I'd go talk to a for-sale owner. You know why? Because I know they have an immediate need to sell. And I'm going to put myself in front of the people that have the need the most, and that's that. But yes, your sphere, I guarantee there's people in your circle today that are either going to sell, buy, or know somebody who is. And when was the last time you talked to them? Okay, prospect. Every day, you should divide your day in two. One should be for income generating activities, and one should be for stabilization of your business. We all tend to lean towards the stabilization and the paperwork and all that stuff. And no, Janet, I didn't tell them they shouldn't do paperwork. They should. But what's the highest priority activity you could do each day? Prospect.
So we didn't share our list before this. We wrote this individually and
I took
comparing it
that
now.
off his list.
My number 4, aggressive prospecting schedule can fix almost every problem that you have. And so Janet mentioned last week in the meeting that MLS dues are due, right? No refunds. And that's $300 that's going to come out of your pocket to pay for your fees so that you have a business to operate from so that you can help people look for property or list properties in the MLS. Every single year, Janet was a treasurer, I was a treasurer, Tom was a treasurer, we have a surplus of people that can't afford their $300, and so they get out of the business over just the $300. And so the difference was, the scary thing for me, instead of going to their office and getting on the phones or calling that FSBO or door knocking or begging and pleading anyone that owns a home to list with them, they would rather just make the sacrifice and jump out of the business. That's the problem in our industry because, number 1, they probably weren't trained to do it. Number 2, they don't really understand how to do it and they're afraid of it. And number 3, they just have no drive to want to do it. And it's not that hard, right? At the end of the day, when you actually get on that phone, even if you are the worst phone prospector in the world and you cried a lot, might you get a listing or a buyer, right? It could happen. But the whole point is you're out there causing it to happen. I put down that what I've noticed to be true is that most agents, and this is sad, have about 20 minutes of prospecting in their day. When they're really serious about it, if they don't lie and they show their schedule, they have about 20 minutes of hardcore prospecting. It should be 3 to 4 hours a day, right? If I'm holding an open house every day, it should be 3 to 4 hours of that open house. And if I'm really aggressive at it, I would be making phone calls while I'm in the house. You imagine that? You've got a list of the neighbors and you're calling them from the front window of that house. Hi, I'm Chris. If you don't come over here and list, I'll get to you soon, right? But that's aggressive prospecting. And I think it's the one thing that, you know, if you really do want to make it a business, it happens. I remember a time back in 2009 or 10, I was struggling to make it work, right? I was at a position where I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen for me. I've been doing this for a while now and I should be better off. And I just remember thinking, what the hell am I going to do? And I had someone who came by and said, well, if you're not going to get out and do something, you shouldn't sit here. Just go sit at an open house. And for 7 days, I had no biblical references, but for 7 days, I sat at an open house Monday through Sunday, and I sat there every single day, all day. I literally moved into the house because I had nothing else to do. By the end of the week, I had 2 new buyers and 1 seller that had come through, and I had multiple transactions, and it kept me in the business. Now, did I go back and hold an open house for the following week? No, I went out and sold the 2 buyers and the seller, and then I had to start all over again because I didn't learn the idea of continuous prospecting. But that's the point. If I were to do it that aggressively for 7 days, there's no way you can have business.
Right? When you have a real job, right? A lot of people go and get a real job. Why do they get a real job?
Consistency.
Consistent check, right? And so when you have a real job, you have to be there what time?
Real time.
When they tell you you're supposed to be there, right? And you get your breaks when? When they tell you you can get your breaks. And then you go home when? When your shift's over and they tell you you can go home.
4 o'clock.
And so you do that consistently over time, and at the end of 2 weeks or your pay period, what happens? Isn't that weird? If you show up every single day and you do what you're supposed to do, you get a paycheck.
Same as this.
It's exact same as this. The difference is you're the boss, right? And so the other problem is you suck at being the boss. If you're not making any money, you suck at being the boss because you're not going to fire anybody because your only employee is yourself, and you're not going to fire yourself, right? And I used to go home at night and I'd ask myself one question. Would I pay somebody to do what I did all day? Would I pay somebody to do what I did all day? To go sit and talk with Chris all day and kick my feet up on my desk and hang out at the water cooler and go to lunch? Because in essence you did. You paid yourself. Thank goodness you're an employee that's forgiving, and since you don't pay yourself, you're not going to quit. You're okay. You see what I mean? You should hold yourself more accountable, pay yourself regularly, and if you're not getting paid regularly, you need to figure out what's going on and figure out how to get consistent and get with your checks. How many of you work 24/7? This leads me into my next point. 24/7. How many are proud of that? Don't raise your hand. You should not work 24/7. See, we just talked about a real job. You have hours, right? You work consistently over this period of time and you get consistent paychecks. So mine is control your schedule. How many of you really work from a schedule? Right? And if you actually work from a schedule and you're structured in that, what really happens is you find you have more time. You actually have more time to do things if you do things when you're supposed to and not procrastinate through the process. And so there's also a difference between a schedule and a calendar. How many of you work from a calendar? We pretty much all work from a calendar. That's where Daryl wants to meet with me at 3, so I'll throw him on my calendar. 3 o'clock I'm meeting with Daryl, right? The calendar is what we kind of flow through. A schedule is really like time blocking. See, when you had your real job and you showed up, you had shifts. You had to be certain places. They didn't always tell you what you were going to do during that period of time, but you knew you needed to be at the office or at the restaurant or whatever at that time, and then you figured out what you were going to do during that time. So time blocking on your schedule would be, I'm going to prospect from 9 to 12 next Wednesday. I don't know what prospecting I'm going to do, but I know during that period of time, I'm doing what? Generating business, prospecting, right? I'm going to pre-schedule in my appointments. I'm going to pre-schedule in my family time, my personal time. We got into this business because of flexible hours, right? But what happens is we work 24/7. We don't have flexible hours because when we're off doing something personally, we feel like we should be where? At work, because we didn't do what we were supposed to do at work. And then when we're at work, we're worried about, well, we should be home with the family because we're not 100% present there either. So really get control of your schedule. And whether you get that through coaching or whatever, figure that out. If you get that piece, your schedule, your whole life will change. Your whole business will change.
My number 5 was that most successful people in 21 that I had witnessed or watched had a very positive mindset. And I think what you'll notice in a lot of sales meetings and a lot of clinics and a lot of coaching sessions, that it comes back to getting you in the proper mindset to be able to do the activity that's out there. Just from show of hands, who takes kids to school before they come here to work? Okay, so a number of us. I realized from a coach I had about 6 or 7 years ago that it's extremely important for me to leave the house and wake up every morning to make myself get in a positive mindset, because if I'm not, on my ride with my kid to their school, am I passing off my bad mindset to them so that they have a bad day in school? And so I didn't really think about that way, and I remember back being a younger kid, my dad used to drive me crazy with his positive mindset. He would always sing this song in the morning, like this, Art Can't Give Up, Can't Give Up. I mean, I'd hear him coming from the other room and I'd just be mortified, right? But he was always in a positive, happy mindset. And I realized that as I went off to school, reflecting back on it, I usually was in a happy mindset. Even though he annoyed me with it, even though it was driving me crazy, I just was a happier person. And so today with my daughter, as we went to school, I always say a few affirmations that she doesn't know are affirmations. It's going to be a great day, exciting and enthusiastic, right? And I say that because I need her to start believing it will be. Not that she's an unhappy person, not that it won't, but it's amazing how those things create positivity in your life. And I am not the rah-rah cheerleader. I've never been. I had to make myself come out of my shell to be that way, because you can't influence the mindset of others until you put it out there. And so I will also take this a step further and say that with your clients, who here has had that horrible client that should be under a rock? I've had that person, right? It's amazing how your positivity, regardless of how you use it, can lead them to be nicer people, because I've had people apologize for being mean because I was so nice to them, right? And so mindset is a big key to your success in 2022. And so do some things to yourself internally, make those affirmations, make those proclamations to yourself to get yourself where you need to be for it.
Did you have a question or statement?
Audrey and we are planning a book club for next year, so we can read books with realtors, or realtors books and mindset books, something that we can choose.
And that's good. So she's going to, Christina and Audrey?
Yes.
Audrey are doing a book club through next year on mindset and books to help you with that. And that's huge, because it's not only doing your affirmation stuff, it's what you put in, right? So society today has been pretty brutal, right? If you're watching any of the news or anything like that, if you follow any of the elections and the past president and the current president, there's a lot of negativity, right? We can watch that and we can get wrapped up in all that stuff. You can associate yourself with negative people, or you can associate yourself with positive people. And like Chris says, being in the right mindset is huge. You have a choice every single morning you wake up. You can be in a good mood or you can be in a bad mood. It's your choice. You can't do both because your brain will just explode. You can only do one, right? But you choose. And that means it doesn't matter how somebody comes at you in a transaction or whatever. You have a choice how you react to that. And most agents are responding. They're firing back, right? Which leads me to mine, which is be more professional in the transaction. We're seeing more transactions blow up, not because the buyer and seller, but because of the two agents in the transaction. The two agents, you guys, who have been hired to do what? Bring a buyer and seller together so that they can sell their home and the buyer can buy the home. And you realize you and the other agent have the same goal. close that transaction. So stop fighting against each other. I mean, you start reading some of the emails that go back and forth, and the amount of calls that I get because so-and-so said this and did that, and that's not you guys complaining, it's the other agents complaining to us about you guys. Or we hear on this side about complaining the others. And more times than not, if you would have just picked up the phone, instead of continuing that battle through email, you would settle this out. Somewhere in your email messages, something went awry, something went askew, somebody took something out of context, whatever, and then both agents get mad, right? And so I think it's important that we choose to be in the right mindset, be the professional, and put yourself above it. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. The ultimate goal is what? To get the home closed, right? And it's amazing how much we as agents get our clients all worked up. You should be the buffer. They hire an agent so that they don't have to be emotionally involved in the transaction so they can make better decisions. And yet, when this agent told me that, I run off and tell my seller what a bad agent they are and what they just said. So naturally, they get what? Upset and everything else. So they dig their heels in, so they're less likely to negotiate with who? The buyer. Not because of the buyer, because of the agent, because of the two agents. So be professional in this, and let's really raise the level of professionalism in our industry. It starts with us. And I promise you, if you do, you will close more transactions. Just what Chris said. He's had people apologize for being mean or ornery to him because he was nice. And you'll have the same thing happen after transaction. So professionalism in the transaction would be a big thing. And I think we all need to step up on that.
So I learned a long time ago when I first became a broker, I thought, with all the board knowledge, and I was there when we wrote the contract, don't try and tell me what it says. I went down that mindset a long way, and I realized that I didn't get very far. But I had to change that to be the first thing I say when I have a broker issue, and I'm calling the other side, either the other broker, the other agent, whoever it is, my first thing is, I'm sorry you're having an issue. Because I've learned that by going down that road and putting myself out there to be the first to say, how can we make it work? The other person feels bad if they're not responsive and participating in that conversation. And even though I've dealt with some of the dumbest people I've ever had the pleasure of talking with on the phone, I start off with, I'm sorry. And I remember going through a series called 7 Habits with Franklin Covey, and one of the habits is seek first to understand. Because the perspective that person is under could be so skewed, I just can't see it from where I'm at. And if I seek to understand why they're thinking the way they are, it's amazing how we usually can bridge the gap and bring things back together. And I'd rather get paid and give an apology than not get paid and be right? I've been married for a long time. There's no value in being right.
That's why he's still married. Once you realize that, you're good.
Hopefully my wife is still at her appointment and not watching this on Facebook. She's not.
I realized the best thing for myself to do is when somebody has a problem with a transaction, I just ask, what can I do to
Yes.
fix this? How can I help?
Yep.
What can we do? Instead of saying, I don't say I'm sorry because I don't want to be like a weak person. Not
Sure.
anything against what you said, but I like to say, hey, what can we do to fix this? How can we help with this?
And that's good. So she comes from a position of what do we need to do to fix it? Let's not dwell on the problem. Let's find a solution. Let's work together to find the solution to this problem or this issue. And that's a great thing. That's coming from a position of a response rather than a reaction. Because typically when something happens, we just fight back. And that's a reaction. You're reacting to the problem, not stepping back, taking a breath, and figuring out how do we fix it and move forward.
And I do the same thing with my clients also when they get all mad and upset. I don't try to answer to their issue. I first ask them what will make you happy.
Yeah.
What is it that will make you comfortable and happy to move forward? And then I listen to them, and then I tell you what we can do and what we cannot. And
Sure.
then I let you
Or does it with their clients as well. The other thing that you have to understand is things are going to go bad in transactions, right?
If they didn't, they wouldn't need us.
Yeah. No matter what you do or how many precautions you take, something's going to go awry from time to time. And somebody's going to be upset, right? And so let them be upset. Let them vent. Let them get it off their chest. Don't take it personal. Once they vent, then you can get to the next step of solving the problem. I find this a lot when agents call to complain. They just want to just tell me how bad our agent was or how bad this was, and they just want to go on this rant. And I know there's two sides to every story, so I don't put too much stock into it because I know something happened between the two and the truth's probably somewhere in the middle. But it's not my position at that point to argue with them or anything else. They're in fight mode. So let them vent and get it off their chest. Now, what can we do to fix it?
So my number 6 was, don't let those who can't or won't keep you from your goals. Most of the time, those who can't lack the belief or imagination. The problem with this is a quote, the problem with closed-minded people is their mouth is always open, right? They're always out there talking instead of listening. Anyone here remember Broadway show Auntie Mame? I think it was called Auntie Mame. You know her famous quote at the end of the movie, the world's a buffet and most poor sons of bitches starve to death, right? I mean, that for some reason, yes, I have seen that show multiple times with my grandmother. For some reason, that quote always resonated with me, that we have everything there for our disposal and opportunity, but most of us never take advantage of it. And so that comes back to the thing, don't let anyone stand in front of your goals being accomplished.
So Chris didn't stand in front of my goals golfing yesterday. That was good. So I hadn't golfed in a long time. In fact, I would never even call my game golf. Tom, thanks. He didn't do any better. Well, maybe a little better.
He did golf from the golf cart. That was something I've never seen before.
He did not go off the course. But no, one thing Chris said yesterday that kind of hit me pretty good is a lot of times you golf and when you're not, or you do something and maybe you're not the best at it, people are always trying to tell you how to do it. Chris made a point not to tell me what I was doing wrong or right or anything, and he even said at the end, I'm not going to give advice on anyone's swing. I mean, if it means something to you, go get coaching, right? And it actually made for a more enjoyable day because I could just embrace my suckness and just be out there and have fun rather than have to focus or try to make my swing better. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And so a lot of I appreciate that. So
Would have been a full-time job. No, actually.
there I am, vulnerable.
He did pretty good. He did pretty good.
I had one shot, one good shot.
You're up.
I'm up.
Yeah. It's either 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'm jumping around. So let's see. The one I would say would be this: focus on delivering an experience to your clients, to the other people in the transaction, to everything. What's an experience?
Something you'll remember.
Something you'll remember, right? It's not about buying and selling a transaction. It's how did I make you feel? How was that process? Would you do it again? Was it enjoyable? Because what they're going to remember is the experience of working with you. We all have an experience when we go out and show homes to somebody, or when we deal with a seller, right? It's either a good experience or a bad experience. Chris asked, how many of you would want to bury one of your clients under a rock? Don't do that.
But it's not one you can find.
But no, it's that same thing. The experience. I've gone out with buyers and laughed and had a great time showing them homes, and almost sad that we found them something and we weren't hanging out anymore, right? But you guys can deliver that same experience and that same process going through. And I would say, you know, in the past, we had the experience. We had the human connection. Then we went through a period in real estate where it was real technology driven, right? We're hiding behind DocuSign. We're hiding behind everything else. Text message, email. We don't even talk voice to voice as much. But you know what's missing today is the human interaction. And more people want that. And so if we create opportunities to create a better experience and more of a connection with them, that'll make us happier people. It will make the transactions that much better. You'll build better relationships. And what does that lead to? More referrals, right? Right down to if you know somebody may not qualify for a home, but you bring them in because they haven't talked to a lender yet. You bring them in and you go through a buyer consultation. You go through all that process. Then you get them in front of the lender, and the lender basically says they're not going to be approved at this time. What did you do? You still had an experience going through and educating them. And they're more likely, when they're able to buy, come back to you, or if they know somebody, refer them to you. Right? But I see so many agents say this. Call comes in, oh, I need you to talk to my lender first. Before I'm even going to spend any time with you, you need to talk to my lender. to me, that's wrong. That's a wrong experience. We're in the business of what? Building relationships, asking for the business, putting ourselves out, connecting with people. Instead of taking the time to sit down with that person, we'd much rather just go try to find a new one. That doesn't make sense to me. And then as we're going through that, how many of you attend your closings? Because in Utah, where I was licensed, it was mandatory that the broker or a representative of the broker attended every closing. That meant the agent. Right? When I came here, I was shocked that people didn't attend them. It's the best time to be there. And you build a relationship with your escrow officer or the signing people, and I mean, it was fun. We'd go in there and make a little bit of fun of me, laugh a little, they'd sign, they'd buy a house, and you'd end it on a positive note. And you were there, part of that, because you worked hard through that process to get them into the house. It's that full experience. So as you put your business plan together this year, really look and say, how can I take a seller through a process that creates an experience? How can I do that with a buyer? And how do I do that with agents that I work with? And I promise you, your job will become much more fun, and you'll get a lot more referrals out of it.
Okay, my number 7, it came back to everyone talking about systems, right? Todd taught an amazing class on systems in your business that he did here at this office. If you want to be organized and have better systems, you got to start with mastering your schedule, right? If you can't even master your day, how do you ever hope to be better in a system? And that's the problem, is people don't schedule. Brandon already hit on it quite a bit, is the fact that I've got a plan for my success, I can't react to it. And so if I'm able to actually schedule in the things that are important, they get done. And if I have a plan to be able to schedule and I know how to do that effectively, then when I put a system in place, it will streamline my entire process. So become a master of your schedule. Man, you have good notes. Yes, I can.
All right, my next one would be get a hobby.
Not
Get a
real
hobby,
estate.
not real estate. Yeah, if you suck at golf and you're looking for a partner, I'm looking for someone to play with me still. No, but seriously, real estate can't be your life. Yes, I want you to enjoy your job and enjoy real estate and stuff like that, but you've got to have downtime and time away, right? So get a hobby would be the biggest thing. How many of you have a hobby? What do you do, Ellie?
Garden.
Garden.
Really? I believe it.
You do too? Snowboarding, see? Mountain biking. Estrella? Crafts. Awesome. The gym? The gym can be a hobby. You're crazy. No, I'm kidding. Anyone else? Pickleball. I've been wanting to play that. Yeah, Glenn and Jen play that too.
Hiking. Actually, I was thinking about doing hiking.
Hiking clubs, or hiking group, that'd be fun. You guys could go to the top of a mountain and read a book. It'd be good. No, but seriously, it's like, if you just go to work every day, go home, follow that same routine and get in this rut, it's not fun. If you have things to break away, you're more likely to be more energetic and actually do better. It brings me back to a story where you have two lumberjacks, and they're chopping wood. And as they're chopping wood, they chop for 24 hours. And every hour, one of them stops, takes a break, and the other one just chopped all the way through. And at the end of the day, the one that took the breaks chopped more wood. And so the other guy goes, how did you out-chop me? How did you get more wood than I did? He goes, I stopped every hour to sharpen my axe. You see, instead of muscling through and pushing through, if you stop and you take some time for yourself, you're more likely to be more productive. Christina?
And you meet people.
What's that?
And you meet people.
And you meet people, right? And you meet people.
That was a great nugget. Tom, you should write that one down.
I will.
Number 8 for me, and I know this is going to sound funny, but I, in the beginning of my business, was not a massive proponent of scripts. I thought they were crazy, they didn't sound right, it sounded like I was a call center, and then I learned how real estate really works. And the problem with most agents is they don't know how to flow a conversation correctly. They don't have a beginning, a middle, and an end that leads to an appointment. And the reason why we use scripts is not because they sound fantastic, is because it's a polished set of circumstances that lead to the outcome I want. And so my number 8 was master your script to internalize it. And what that means is that by me practicing it, by me writing it down, by me going through that process, I now commit to memory the flow of questions I need to ask in my way to get to the same outcome. And that's what any good script will do for you. The better you sound, the more positive and polished your presentation, the more listing buyers and money you make. That's just the rule of thumb. I mean, if I sound really good at what I say, and you feel that I sound, I've said a script so well the person on the other side smiled at me, right? Through the phone. And I knew that I was getting that listing because there was no question. They felt it when I said it. I felt it when I said it. And I think that's the whole point, is you've got to commit to your craft to become great at it. And so get polished at your scripts.
Yeah, how many of you love it when a telemarketer calls you?
Oh, I love it.
You do?
I do.
Why? Why?
Why?
No, here's the thing. You should never be. You should never be real hard on them because they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, is calling. But here's the thing. The reason most of us don't like telemarketers is because it's not a conversation, right? You can tell they're doing what? Reading a script, right? And how many of us love to work from scripts? We all work from scripts every day. You tell the same stories, you tell the same jokes, you're already scripted. The difference is if we're giving you a script, that's not your script yet. But if you do what Chris says and you internalize that, and then you just speak it because those become your words, now you're not reading a script. And you're working from something with a flow. A script is designed to take you from what? The beginning of the conversation to an appointment, right? And so it flows through there. Now, can you go off script a little bit? Yeah, because we're human and we need to build some rapport and stuff, but ultimately you do what? You come back to that script. Well, if you don't internalize that script, you go off on tangents, and that's why you don't book appointments. The script and mastering your skill, practice is a big one, because if you don't practice your craft, you don't get better. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called The Tipping Point. And there's a study in there where they talk about hockey. And they say the better hockey players are hockey players that are born in the beginning of the year. There's something to this. They figure, why is this? And it's because of the way they group the kids in age brackets. The ones at the beginning of the year are a little bit older, a little bit more coordinated, which means they play a little bit better on the ice, which means they get more practice time, which means they get to play in the all-star game and the extra game, they spend more ice time. More practice makes them better hockey players. Not because of when they were born, because of how they were grouped together at the age brackets. Does that make sense? You have to have like 10,000 hours of practice before you start to master your skill. That's like 10 years of doing something before it starts to become natural. Like when I teach the academy, we're talking about objection handling stuff, people are like, yeah, but you're good. I was never always that good. You do that because you've said it how many times and it becomes yours, and you're not shocked when somebody throws an objection at you, because why?
You practice.
You've heard it before and you've practiced it. Practice is a key to becoming better. Know your scripts, know your dialogues, know your craft. Practice.
My turn?
9.
Okay, there's absolutely no question, and my reflection of every year that I've been part of this business, and especially in this last year, knowing your numbers personally, your personal numbers, and the market stats around the area you work is the real secret to controlling every conversation and getting every client. What I've found to be true is people lie, but the numbers never will, right? We all know somebody that's told us a bold-faced lie in sales about either the property, the price, or its condition, but the numbers themselves can never lie. It's impossible when you really pull them out. And so I farmed for a lot of years. I actually enjoyed it. I've made more money in farming than almost any other type of marketing I've done. But one of the hardest things I had to learn was you can't become the master of their community without knowing their numbers. And a rule of thumb is to print out the numbers on a little card and keep it with you everywhere, right? In my wallet, I used to carry my 2 farms that I had, all of the stats, and I would update it so that when one of the people in the neighborhood would call me and say, tell me about my neighborhood, I could rattle off everything that was important about that neighborhood, because it then made me the market expert. You should be doing the same thing with the stats on the marketplace if you don't farm. LVR now puts out, they have for quite a while now, Applied Analysis compiles all of the numbers for our marketplace. They actually even break them down into zip codes. They don't break them down into area codes anymore. They break them down into locations in the valley. And so the idea behind that is that you can become an expert in that area And when people ask you for that info, they know that you know what you're talking about. Many times on Facebook, I see agents that put out market stats, right? And the bad part about it is they do it once and then not again. No one's going to follow you if you're not consistent and continuous. We had Brownie up here many times, Brownell, that would share with us stats. And the reason why people ask him for the info is because he's consistent. His numbers could be completely wrong, but at least they're here every single month for me to go by, right? And that's the thing with the MLS as well. They're there every single month updating themselves to it. So if you're going to master everything else, make sure that you master your numbers. The other side of that is, if I want to get better, if I'm a phone prospector, if I'm a door knocker, if I'm a cold caller, whatever it is, if I track my numbers, simple tweaks within your prospecting can lead to your numbers being better. It's simple math. And by doing those trackers, and Todd talks about this a lot in his classes, he provides tracking forms. The idea is if I look at that and I'm honest about it, I can really watch my business grow from it.
Leads me into mine, which would be becoming the market expert. It amazes me how many agents really don't know the statistics and don't know the percentage of increase of homes over the past year and don't know what our median price range is and can't really have those educated discussions with people out there. Because the natural response when they say, how's the market, what do we say?
Good.
Good, great, it's on fire.
It's on fire.
It's whatever, kind of like some of our listings. We actually had a rental just burn down.
Congrats.
Yeah, so nobody got hurt, that's good. But understanding what that is, and then you look at it and you say, okay, how do I take that and become a better resource for my sphere of influence or better resource for people? And really look at how do I become the real estate agent or the real estate professional for life? You know, when you look at a financial advisor, do they just wait for you to call?
No, they wait for the check.
They wait for the check, but they're also coming to you, if they know you have money, they're coming to you with ideas or opportunities, right? Why don't we do that as a real estate agent or a real estate professional? Why don't we reach out and find out what our clients or our past clients' goals are? Would they like to own some investment property? Because Roy has just got a duplex up for sale right now, which would be a tremendous opportunity to call every single person in your database and basically say, hey, we've got a great duplex that's coming up. Have you ever thought about investing in some real estate? I know we sold you a house 3 or 4 years ago. Have you thought about moving up and maybe turning this into a rental? Because the rental market right now is hot. It's on fire. It's good. It really is good because what's going on right now? Rental rates are going up, right? It would be a great time to be able to invest in some real estate. Well, prices are high. Well, but rates are low, rents are high, which means your payments can be lower, which means maybe these things cash flow. It might be a tremendous time to invest, but if we don't know the statistics and we don't know what's going on, like Chris said, we can't have these discussions and we can't really go out and create more business. Because one of the issues we have right now is what? Shortage of inventory. Well, there's inventory out there waiting to be found, but the sellers of that inventory don't realize they should be selling or doing something with it right now.
Yep.
And so really getting in touch with what's going on in our market, getting a pulse on it, and moving that direction is big. The other thing is, if you're watching the market and you see prices are trending lower, what should you do? You should talk to every one of your listings before they get priced out of the market and they chase that market down and cost them a lot of money. Same thing if you're taking listings and you see prices are going up. What should you do? Same thing, talk with sellers and talk about pricing higher. Is it okay to raise the price of a house?
Only if it sells.
Yeah, if the market's trending differently, you may need to. But that's the thing. Many homes were sold during this past cycle, and I think they were undersold, undervalued. And I'm not saying by us, I'm just saying in general in real estate across the country, because agents didn't understand what the market was doing. It's your job to know that.
Recently, I represented a buyer. We got 30,000 more than what we gave an offer. Present is 30,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, that's great. Yes. No names. No names.
Oh, well, she's my idol. She's
Okay.
like
Okay, you're gonna say something good, then you can use her name.
But you know, I started off working with investors in homes, so I write with so many offers, and then I will watch your listings, because it will be most of the tenant occupied, and after 6 months, 7 months, when I'm just thinking, okay, now I have equity in this home, and I wanna like get the listing, sure, just change the price.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell, and then nobody ever told me that, but then I realized, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, so,
She's really good.
Sherry?
I just want to say too, to not be arrogant, you know, I lost a very big listing. I looked at it was in the Vistas, I live over there, I know those numbers, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really do my homework. And I went to the listing appointment, and I didn't get that listing.
Don't wing it.
Right behind me, the next agent did his homework, and he got it. And so, you know, really do your homework.
And that's how you justify value. You see, if you come in with more information and you educate them more, you're more valuable, which means you get paid more.
Okay, my last one, I saved the best for last, okay? Good help and support is hard to find, and once you have it, do everything you can to keep it. A bad hire could cost you $30,000 to $50,000 in pay scale and in damage to your business, but a good hire could make you $1 million. Because we've all had that person that worked with us that were like, wow, this person's gonna help me go to the next level. And when you're an entrepreneur in our business and you're able to keep going to those next levels and you're able to have that help and support, there's nothing better for your business. And it's not always just the hire, it's the support group that you have around you. The reason I've always had a coach is because I don't know everything. I'm not even close to knowing some of things, right? But if I have that person there to teach me the next level or to look at what I'm doing and say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, you may want to reconsider. That allows me to grow as a person, and everything I know is because of coaches and mentors that I've had and support people that I've had that have given me better perspective on the way that I can move my business forward. And sometimes it's not about moving forward, it's just being better from where I'm at. So I can progress down the road, having a better base and foundation.
And you guys have one of the best broker staff ever. And I'm not saying this because I sit on it. It's because we've assembled some of the best people. And if you really look at Todd Barton, Tom Blanchard, Chris Bishop, they're past presidents. They've been in the business. Patty Kelly's here. Vonda gets involved with legislative. I mean, we've got Janet. Janet's
Copious
been
notes.
copious. The newsletter, the information she puts out. If all you did was read the newsletter a lot of times and regurgitate what you learned there, you're going to be more educated than most realtors in our market. You've got a great leadership here. Tap into it and utilize it. I mean, we're all approachable and we're all here to help you. Even if you don't have to coach with us to get an answer to a question or get some advice and different things like that. The coaching is, even Tom, especially Tom. The coaching comes if you want us to help you implement it. There's a difference. We'll tell you all the same stuff. It's just, can you go do it yourself, or do you need somebody to hold you accountable to help you through the process? But just know,
Yes, you do.
You've got a lot of people in your corner and a lot of support behind you. And so there should be no excuse. You guys should all go out there and get it and be successful if you want it.
So let me just give you a perspective real quick in ending. The reason why we share this with you is not because we want to sit up here and give you our reflections. It's because in recap of what we've seen and what we've heard, the easiest way to progress forward is to learn from the mistakes and from the observations, right? I mean, that's why people do case studies to find out what's happening out, with any product they're working with. Before a company launches anything that you buy, they do a case study to find out, are you going to buy it? What should it look like? What should it be priced at? This is our case study of the marketplace. And by learning from this from each year as you reflect on it, you should go back right now and write your 10 observations. Think of where you spent your money, where you spent your time, and where you put your energy, and how can you progress your business forward from the successes you had and from the things that weren't successful. I've spent money on a lot of stupid ideas that I learned from, so it had value from that, but I didn't do it again because it didn't generate any business. And so this is kind of my practice, and I know it's Brandon's, to kind of look back and say, what am I going to make better next year? What can I start, stop, and continue?
That was on here.
I know.
Did you look at my notes?
No.
Oh, I stole that from last year. I went back and watched last year's video. I figured I'd take one of Chris's and put it on my list. But no, this the same thing. You guys can analyze your business. You can go back and see what worked and what mistakes you made. We all made them. Just be honest with yourself. There's things that cost you money this year. and there's things you did that made you great returns. And so do more of the stuff that gets you returns and do less of the stuff that costs you money.
Cool.
That's it.
Sherrie KK, come up and tell us who won the alcohol. Woo!
Chris, Amy texted me and wants you to record that part about you being not knowing your.
Yeah, Beta, mark that time slot on the YouTube video
Ask it to record
and
it.
clip that out.
About the 28th minute.
All right.
Okay, so are we doing winner picks?
Winner
Or
picks.
winner picks, okay.
But let's plug tomorrow night. Okay, so maybe there's people that don't know what Bras for a Cause is.
What's Bras for a Cause?
You don't know what Bras for a Cause is? You never did it?
He's being facetious.
I
No,
know.
I've never done it.
Well, there's been, so, did he, because you know, I was not at the one last year, it was the one year before.
You missed quite the party. Last year was in this room.
Right.
We will never let them do it here again.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still cleaning up glitter. It was an amazing event. Chris, Keith, and Tom were the MCs.
That was their first mistake.
And we had my business partner Mike Rasmussen up here, and he wasn't
He was
invited
fine.
back. But if you want to see pictures, there's a picture in Janet's office of him.
Yes.
So this year we've got a
And they
special.
raised over $25,000.
Did they? Wow, wow. So let me tell you what it is, because a lot of you may not even know. Men volunteer, Ellie has volunteered
Yay, Ellie!
to model a bra. And so it gets very creative, it gets very funny. It's always a little funner with a little alcohol involved. We've learned that over the years,
Yeah.
because the luncheon one was very boring. But anyway, they auction off these guys, and they really are out there modeling some pretty funny bras. I've been a decorator one year, years back. But anyway, it is tomorrow night. It's a $50. You can pay at the door. I confirmed this morning with Bobby.
Are you
Star.
sure? Because I tried to get somebody paid yesterday, and she said no.
I texted Bobby Stardust this morning.
The-
I said, I'm going to be plugging it. Can they pay at the door? She said, yes.
We're not gonna turn away money.
And they're not
And
going to turn away money.
We also, they told me golf and they had a booth and they said they're not taking cash at the door. They're not gonna turn you away, but if you want, just send me a message or send Jen a message. We have the link that you can just go on and register. They reopened the link. I registered 2 this morning, so it is live still.
Oh, good, good, good. Anyway, that $50 goes right to breast cancer. Again, it's all about breast cancer this month. So, on that word, it's tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the Parkway Tavern, the 215 and Flamingo location, right?
On my way home.
Okay, first winner gets to pick. 2547552. Oh, Roy, you got yours.
254-7552. Right?
Yep,
Nobody?
7552.
That's you, Chris.
No.
Come on.
Okay.
Who-
Let's see if I can play this out.
Wow.
Okay, I don't know where that is. I wonder
Oh.
what. Maybe I'm.
254-7552. It's Adam.
It is you?
Is it Adam? Okay, get up here. and
Know
pick.
your numbers.
Know your number.
Which one do you want, Adam?
The black one.
The black one.
No kidding.
Okay.
Okay, that's Adam's.
Okay, next winner is 2547509.
7509.
7509.
Yay, Lois.
Hey.
Oh, she's a lucky
Lois,
one.
which one would you like?
The tequila or the cough syrup? Cough syrup, she says. I'll guarantee you it'll kill anything that's wrong
She
with
needs
you.
this to get through CE later.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be an interesting
And the
class.
tequila.
Last but not least, Hornitos. 2547483. That's
7483.
an off number.
Roya!
Roya, finally! You could do a little switcherino maybe with him. Okay, guys, thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys. Have a great week.
See you next Tuesday. More weeks. Family.